Good morning, it's Karen, and today we're going to be looking at my top books of 2021 that were the most enjoyable to read. The ones that were highly entertaining. They were so fun, and in the middle of them, you're just going, I can't wait to find out what happens next. They're the ones that are really exciting to read. They're not necessarily the most hearty. Sometimes they do have profound things to say, but they're also really entertaining. I wouldn't go so far to say is they're fluff books. Absolutely not in the least. But they were the most entertaining of the ones that I read this year. They're no particular order. I'm just going to give it. I only own one of these books, unfortunately, but I take a lot of books out of the library because my bookshelves are full. And anyway, the first book I have talked about before, and that was This Poison Heart by Kaylin Bayron. This I ended up reading totally randomly. I put a whole bunch of books on a maybe list in my library and then on a whim added it to the booktube spin and it came up, so I read it and loved it. So it's about this girl who's got, I've been calling it green magic. She's basically kind of the plant whisperer, and she is immune to poisons, hence this poison heart. And she gets an inheritance from her aunt, and she goes and lives on this estate, and there's like treasure. It's like a treasure hunt. She's finding things behind paintings. She's finding secret gardens. It's fantastic entertainment. Also, like, there is stuff that it is saying, but if you're looking for one that's just really enjoyable to read, this one. I mean, this whole list is just going to be books that are really enjoyable to read. The next one is Iron Widow by Shiran J. Zhao. This was, okay, think Mecca. This was very Pacific Rim in vibes. They're Pacific Rim in vibes because it requires two pilots in these giant mecha robots. But the twist is that it's usually someone with the yin, what do you call it? Yin chi and then yang chi. So you think of the symbol that we always see with the yin and yang, but this one, yin and yang, is usually feminine and masculine, and the men tend to overpower the women, and the women become sacrifices until this particular pilot comes along, and she is one of those ones who starts burning out the males. And this is just like, it is high energy. It is really tough in some places, but man, this was good. Like, if you're wanting that sort of Hunger Games vibe, but like way updated to our 2021, this is it. Chinese flavor, anything with China inspiration. I love it. I'm all over it. Please read this. This is incredible. I also listened to that one on audiobook, and that really helped out with a lot of the Chinese-esque names in the pronunciations, because I wouldn't necessarily look at those letter combinations and say them in that particular way. I would say them totally different, but the same could be said for any fantasy book, and then you hear someone else say the name and they not mispronounce it. They have a different interpretation of it. It's like, actually, the same thing happens with Western stuff. So what am I talking about? Okay, the next one, super fun. The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is a short, teeny little book. I've been comparing it to A Christmas Carol, but for Halloween. And this is a group of boys who, they're looking for their friend who usually comes with them trick-or-treating, and he's not there. Where is he? They go to this creepy house where there is a Halloween tree, and yes, there is pumpkins hanging from the tree, so I took that inspiration. And they end up going on this sort of like adventure through time, and they learn about all of the inspirations for Halloween. They go to ancient Egypt. They go to ancient Celtic in Britain. They go to, where do they go? They go to Mexico. It's a lot of fun, and I am planning on owning that sometime soon. It's in my cart. It's just ready to go. I just have to press the purchase button. The next one that I absolutely loved was The Mask Falling by Samantha Shannon. This is the 4th book in a series, so don't pick this one up thinking, oh, I want a fun read, without having read the other books. These are, now the world is dense. It's complex, but once you get to the 4th book, I feel like it reads more easily then. This is about a clairvoyant named Paige. Paige is kind of like this kick-ass character, and she just keeps getting up after being knocked down. And this is like an action movie. Oh, you know what it reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Underworld. You know, where she's just, the bad guys are all everywhere, and she's got to infiltrate things, and she keeps getting captured, she keeps escaping, and it's just like, ugh, it's an action movie in a book. It never stopped. It was fantastic. The next book that I would say was just highly enjoyable. It's also, I think it's like the 6th book in this series, but I do feel like in this series, you probably could read them out of order. They are, okay, it's called The Dark Archive by Genevieve Cogman. This is from the Invisible Library series. Now, I think the Invisible Library is the first book, and I'm not going to rattle off the other books because I have no idea what they're all called, but they are just fun. They are as if there is alternate universes, all varying levels of chaos and order, and the main character has to go to each, well, she doesn't have to, she is a librarian, and she is tasked with going and finding books that are available and exist only in specific worlds, and then bringing them back to the library. They are highly sought after, they are antiques, they are collectibles, they are valuable, and she has to go and do them. So it's like Indiana Jones in alternate universes. Instead of looking for artifacts, it's books. And they all kind of have different vibes. So some of them are like Venetian vibes, some of them are 80s, like neon. Oh, what is that TV show with the Miami Vice. It's like Miami Vice. This one, just same kind of thing. It's high action. There's like oh my goodness, words. There's an overarching story, but you could, I feel, read these out of order. Unless you're the type of person like me and you have to read everything in order. I am reading these as they're coming out. I love them. They're fun. End of story. And the last one is the one that I own, and that was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the first Taylor Jenkins Reid that I have read, and it's funny because everybody seems to be lukewarm on Malibu Rising, but I don't know, like if I liked this one this much, I might like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo or the Daisy Jones and the Six or whatever other ones she's written. I just really liked this. I read this in 2 days, one day, in June as part of the Shelf Space Readathon, and I picked it up, I took it out of the library, and I read it in 2 days, and then said, I have to own this, and I went to the bookstore, and I bought it 2 days later. That doesn't happen a lot. There was something about this one that I absolutely loved. I wouldn't have thought that I am a beach vibes person. This is following a family from two timelines. The timeline of them growing up and the timeline of them now. And the reason why it reads so easily is there's sort of that ticking time bomb of what happens in the end. I'm not going to give it away, but it basically, the now time is them having this big party. It's this famous party and everybody's gathered and it's this infamous thing where all the it people, they come, and this party just goes way out of whack and it becomes historical and whatever. Anyway, it was just a lot of fun. Pure fun. Pure fun. And that's my list. The entire list, pure just enjoyment. And I hope that you also had some reads where they were just, you don't have to read all dense all the time. I know it looks like sometimes I'm reading these dense things, but I fill them in between with books like this. And we kind of have to have those palate cleansers, those things that just remind us, oh yeah, I love reading. It shouldn't always be work. It is good to challenge yourself, but it shouldn't always be work. Anyway, thanks so much for coming, and we'll see you again for the next installment of this series as we look back into 2021 and see what kinds of books that I've read. And we'll see you soon, next Tuesday at 8